Sounds like a physics lesson, right? Well, here's what I'm trying to say. Look at verse 29 and verse 30 in the passage that we read out, Mark chapter 10. Jesus said, "Truly I say to you, there is no one who has left house or brother or sister or mother or father or children or lands for my sake and for the gospel who will not receive 100-fold now in this time." So what is Jesus trying to say here? Jesus is saying, if you leave anything for my sake and for the gospel's sake, then you can expect a reward from me. So the point is that the reward comes from the person towards whom the effort is directed. Whom are you trying to please? That person is the one who will reward you. That's what it means in simple words. Very simple concept. You will get the reward from a person whom you're trying to please. You will get the reward from the person towards whom your effort is directed. The question that we need to ask ourselves as Christians is, towards whom is our effort directed? Whom are we trying to please? It's not a very simple question. It's actually a pretty tricky question because it really requires the testing of our motives. You know, Jesus explained this whole concept quite beautifully in Matthew chapter 6. If you turn with me to Matthew chapter 6, you see Jesus really explained what I'm talking about. If you read the first two verses, it says over there, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. For then you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. Thus when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, for they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward." Well, what is Jesus trying to say here? What Jesus is trying to say here is, if you're practicing your righteousness so that you want to be seen by others, if you're practicing your righteousness, if you're doing the good deed so that you want to impress the others, now if you get noticed by them and they praise you, then that is your reward. Notice the law of reward applies under all circumstances. Like whatever good you're doing, the law of reward applies. So Bible is saying if you're doing good, you will get a reward for it. But your motives will determine whom you will get a reward from. If you're doing good so that people can notice you, then when they notice you and they praise you, what a good brother. That is your reward. And once you have got that, don't expect anything else from the Father. Because you got your reward. That is what you were looking for. You were looking for to be noticed. You were looking for that people will notice you and will praise you. You were looking for the way you pray, the way you raise your hands, the way you dress up, the way you talk. That's what you were looking for. So when you got noticed by people in doing so, that is your reward. That's what Jesus is saying. It's not that you don't have a reward. You got your reward. Now, because you got your reward, don't expect anything else from the Father, Jesus is saying. Now you may say, well, that's not fair. I want something from the Father as well. Like, I like being noticed by people. I like that, people say good things about me. Who likes to hear good things about themselves from other people? All of us, right? That's just human tendency, right? Like we do all do like that. But we also want to learn something from the Father, right? We also want to be rewarded by the Father. Here's what Jesus is saying. He's saying in the third and the fourth verse, but when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And when your Father sees in secret, He will reward you. So if you want to be noticed by people, when you are noticed by people, that is your reward. But if you're doing it and nobody noticed you, don't think that it went unnoticed. God will reward you. That's what Jesus is saying. That's how the concept of rewards work. You will always get a reward for everything that you do. But the person towards whom you direct your effort, he's the person who will reward you. If your effort is directed towards people, I want to be noticed. I want to be seen. Then when you are seen by them and they praise you or they remunerate you for that, that is your reward. But if your effort goes unnoticed, not because of your foolishness, but because you genuinely did it out of the depths of your heart, because you wanted to honor God, and not just because you wanted to be seen by people, then your Father, who sees that you did put the effort in secret, not wanting to be seen by people, then He will reward you. That's how the concept, that's how the principle of reward works. You know, and in the professional world, I often hear this phrase called, don't work hard, work smart. How many of you have heard that? Don't work hard, work smart. In other words, what they're trying to do is do the things that get you noticed. If all the hard work that you're putting in throughout the day, that's one place, but when the boss is around, the way you behave yourself in those few minutes, that has the ability to get you more reward than all the effort that you put in during all those hours when nobody was watching. But guess what? Those moments of effort that you put in when the boss was there and he noticed you, that is your reward. But the effort that you put in all those hours when nobody noticed, God will reward. Because that's how the law of rewards work. Paul writes in the Epistle to the Colossians, he says, do everything unto the Lord. Do everything as if you're doing it for the Lord. Do your job as if you're doing it to the Lord, not to please your earthly masters, but to please your master in heaven. Because from Him, you will get a reward. So you will always be rewarded for the good work that you do, but your reward will come from the person towards whom the effort is directed. And then Jesus goes on to explain the same concept through the future verses of Matthew chapter 6 as well. 6. Look at verses 5 and 6. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. Jesus doesn't say there is no reward for them because they are hypocrites. He says they have received their rewards. But when you pray, go into your room, shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And when your Father sees in secret, He will reward you. Look at verse 16. And when you fast, do not look gloomy like these hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly I say to you that they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. By so many examples, what is Jesus trying to say here? What He's trying to say is that your reward will come from the person towards whom you're directing your efforts. If you're doing it in secret, only because you want God to see, then He will reward you. But if you're doing it in public, specifically because you want people to notice you, then when they notice you, that is your reward. Don't expect anything else from the Father then. You've already got your reward. The third thing to note about rewards that I learned from this passage is that you have to choose the place where you will store your rewards. You see, earning is like an investment. When you earn your reward, you have to store it in a particular place. And God is telling us that there are different places, there are two different places where you can earn your rewards from. In Mark chapter 10, look at Jesus' response to Peter. He says, truly I say to you, I'm reading from the 29th verse of Mark chapter 10. Truly I say to you, there is no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or lands for my sake and for the gospel who will not receive the hundredfold now in this time, house and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and land with persecution, and in the age to come, eternal life. So if you notice, there are two places Jesus talks about where you can get your return. Either you can get your return in this age, on earth, or you can get your return in the age to come, which is heaven. So Jesus is saying there are two places where you can store all the rewards that you earn. You know, life is all about earning rewards. You put all the hard work, whether it's at work, whether it's in the church, whether it's you're investing yourself in your family, you put all your hard work and you get reward from the people towards whom you're directing your efforts. Where do you store all those rewards? There are two places you can store your rewards. Either you can store your rewards on earth, or you can store your reward in heaven. However, there is a preferred place that Jesus talks about. Amongst the two places that I talked about, there is a preferred place that Jesus talks about. Look at Matthew chapter 6 again. And I'm reading from the 19th verse. Jesus is saying, do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where the thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. So Jesus is saying actually there is nothing wrong with storing up treasures in earth as well. That's fine. For those of you who want to earn that is your reward. But Jesus is saying, if you ask my recommendation, here's what I want to recommend you. I would rather that you store up treasure in heaven in comparison to storing up treasure on earth. And I want to tell you a practical reason for that. On earth, you will have the moth destroying it. And you may have it stolen. But on heaven, nobody has the ability and the capacity to take